G'day guys, welcome to this special birthday edition TRT live stream. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you to the Aussies and New Zealanders who are a little bit ahead of time and are actually already in my birthday, and the rest of Europe and probably the rest of the world who have to catch up. Really grateful that you guys could be here. Really grateful for my team doing an amazing job again to make this a reality. We're going to be covering some exciting things tonight, so I'm just very grateful and enthusiastic about being able to share lots of love and horse things with everybody. You might be wondering, where is my famous sidekick at a live stream or a live event? Connie. Connie is, of course, possibly during this event, let's hope not, going to be giving birth to her first son. So, but don't worry, I've got another very special sidekick that's going to join me. Those of you who are members of the TRT Method online training will know how valuable this member of our TRT team is. So please welcome everybody, Tessa.
Round of applause. Good to be here.
Yeah. So guys, Tessa's normally of course helping out with our Q&As and of course everything else that goes along in the TRT family. So Tessa, you're going to be helping us tonight with some of the program.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I can help. I'll definitely keep an eye on the chat, everyone. Just checking in if everybody can hear and see us. Just let us know. If not, we'll be making sure that you can, of course. Well, the show today, we're going to have 2 demos. So 2 horses that you'll see today. Tristan will be explaining more about that. But for each demo, there's an opportunity to ask questions. And you can do so in the chat. You've probably already seen it, you already said hi to everyone, etc. So if you have a question that either comes up during the demo or is a question about your horse, ask it in the chat and I'll keep an eye on it and I'll save the ones that I think are really interesting for a lot of people or just really interesting for the moment itself. And we'll have an opportunity to ask them and get an answer from Tristan.
Sounds good. So those Q&As will be after each demo.
So there's 2 Q&As.
Very nice. And so with the questions for the Q&As, is there something special that is coming with that?
It's definitely something special. We can give away 3 lifetime access memberships to the entire TRT Method training. So that's really awesome. It's a really huge thing. We'll announce them at the very end. So we'll answer more questions. So it's going to be tricky, so make sure your question is really, really good, and you'll have a shot at winning it. So
it wouldn't be really a live Q&A without giveaways and Q&As, would it?
Exactly.
It wouldn't be a live stream, a TRT event without Q&As and giveaways. So thank you very much. We'll see you a little bit later in our Q&A, and keep track of everything. So guys, it's about to start. I'm going to first give a disclaimer. This disclaimer is to say that everything you're going to see tonight is just my opinion. It's my opinion through the experiences and the knowledge that I've gained through training a lot of horses, of course, around the world. It's my experience through my daily activities of working horses at home. You are now here in my arena at home. So be prepared to hear also everything straight. I'm going to be giving it to you straight. I'm not here for creating more followers. I'm not here as a popularity contest or to become famous. I'm here to provide real value and usable information to inspire you and to maybe give you some ideas that you will use at home on your own horses. So why? Why are we doing a live stream? It's of course to provide value, to provide solutions. It's what we do here at TRT Method. By doing that, we want to be able to create solutions for common problems. And of course there are a lot of problems, both in the world and of course the horse world. And the problems I want to focus on in particular are the things that I face on a daily basis, that I keep reoccurring, which I've been doing for the past 25 years. And particularly for the last 10 years, these sorts of problems have increased rapidly. These are things like horses having tension, horses that are having spookiness, horses that are horse shy, horses that are difficult to stand still when you get on, horses that are having tension and meltdowns at competitions, at shows, horses that are difficult to take your jacket off, horses that are difficult to handle the feet, horses that are difficult to load in the trailer and travel, etc., etc., etc. The other thing about these issues with the horses is that it becomes part of something that, of course, is difficult for everybody. Nobody wants undesired behaviours. These undesired behaviours, of course, create the possibility for you to not be successful in competition, to not have a successful ride. It creates, of course, unhappiness, and it creates the possibility of feeling unsafe. So it's really important that, for me, I can share with you some of these ideas of the things that I'm dealing with on a daily basis. The really interesting part about trying to help people with the undesired behaviours is you are dealing directly with real life situations. Also, undesired behaviours are giving source for ugly photos on the internet. They are the source of the disaster videos in which we see on the internet. And it's also of most importance that these situations that our horses are living with, the undesired behaviours, the difficulties, the insecurities, this is what the horses have to live with on a daily basis. So I think it's a really important topic to be able to give everybody some tools and some information to be able to empower them with how to eliminate these problems. What causes these things? This is where it gets real, people. The cause, of course, of all these situations is coming from us. All of the situations where a horse is having difficulties, insecurities, this is coming from our lack of education or information in which we give to our horses within the environment we bring them into. So it's, of course, our responsibility to gain the knowledge to be able to teach these things. You know, when somebody comes and says, I have this horse and I can't get on, I can't stand still. He doesn't stand still when I get on, he's afraid when I get up. I have a horse that's afraid of other horses. It's just the lack of information. We can teach these things, and this is what I want to be able to show you tonight. There are, of course, negative things around horses and around sport. There's internet bashing. And of course, there's a lot of people that can easily go around and say what people are doing wrong and what is bad and create a reflection of this. I want to believe that the people that are posting these sorts of things most of the time are doing it for the good of the horse. And I believe that you can't have positive change without self-reflection and self-improvement. But I also have the feeling when I look at constant negative images, if I go to a horse welfare website, if I consume a lot of this information, it's negative. What are the feelings and the emotions that I have when I see these kinds of posts? It makes me feel sad, of course. I become demotivated. My physiology becomes down, it becomes low. It's not giving me the sense to want to change. We often push back against it. It's not something we want to see. So it's not promoting. I don't think that negativity is a way to create growth and positive lasting change. So why do we choose to do this as a live stream specifically? One, because it's the internet. There's no limits. I don't know how many people there are watching right now from how many different countries, but you don't have to be in the Netherlands anymore. We can be worldwide. We can reach all of you. The other reason, of course, is that it's live. This is the real deal. There's no highlight reel. There's no preempted, pre-staged situation. This is live. This is real action. This is what happens in real life. So it's important to me to be able to do this as a live stream, to be able to connect with you one-on-one, to be able to be with you here where you're sitting at home on the couch with your cat drinking a red wine. That this is in real time. We are here together now in this very moment. The other important thing, of course, is through these live streams I want to give positive, motivational, inspirational thoughts and usable, doable information. So information that you can use, that empowers you to say, yes, I can now fix the problem. I can now create an environment where my horse is more comfortable. I can learn something in order to maybe teach somebody else, to help somebody else. This is not about negativity, this is about positivity. To create a movement, to create positive change is to educate, to inform, to empower, to give people the knowledge of how they can help themselves in order to help their horses. I've been to, of course, a lot of seminars, symposiums, forums, and you know, things run by Trainers Club, Riders Club, you know, the federations, the governing bodies, you know, all around the world in all different disciplines, with the idea of sharing knowledge and, of course, positive change. In most instances, these situations don't work. And the reason I feel they don't work is because the presenters, the participants, come with a political agenda or a self-motivational, a self-promoting, or a self-protecting agenda. And I also understand that. You know, life is hard. To create a life and to make a living in horses is also really hard. And if you stand up and present, there's also that risk of the possibility of your reputation being attacked, that the possibility of your income, of your business, is going to be lost. We work very hard to create a position, and so to the human condition to stand up and stand out and really share your beliefs is difficult. And of course, in that situation, there is also the risk of how your peers are going to look at you, and then of course it's easier to follow a certain trend or say what you think you should say in order to look like you're doing the right thing, so you're not subject to ridicule, that we drop words like happy athlete and, you know, try to create situations of doing the right thing to avoid being attacked, to avoid having ridicule, to avoid the possibility of someone taking a negative photo or creating a negative video. But avoiding the situation is also not empowering. This is not growth. So it's really important for me that we can find ways to openly and honestly share ideas. We need to find ways to give information and knowledge and give value in a way that motivates and creates and inspires people to better themselves in order to create lives that are better for their horses. So this is my goal, to try to be as transparent as possible, to forget about hitting your head against the wall about what we shouldn't do and what's not good, and that this is wrong and this is ugly. Because of course, everybody that's involved in horses is not out to do the wrong thing. Everybody is living in the current situation with their current influences and the current knowledge and doing the best they can. So to make positive change is about spreading positivity through knowledge, through empowerment, through inspiration and motivation. It's not a time to continue to show the highlight reel of what we want to project on everybody else. It's time for reality. It's time to empower people with real knowledge. And that's what we're going to try and do here today. I've got a list of what we're actually going to do. In this live stream, special TRT birthday edition, because it's my birthday, it's special, we're going to be looking at the causes of difficult situations, what creates uncertainty in our horses to be insecure, what causes stress and tension. What is tension? A really good question. What is tension? Where does it come from? How do we self-diagnose? How do we find out what's actually going on in our horses? When horses come to me for help, a horse comes in training, a professional that's very experienced in their field, when they come to me, the process is looking and reading what the horse's story is. Who is my horse and what is he thinking? Why do we have these undesired behaviors? If you cannot diagnose, if you cannot look and read your horse and know who he is and what he's feeling and how he's experiencing life, you cannot begin to even search for the right solution. So diagnosis, how do we go through this? Again, this is my way of doing it. I want to share the way that inspires me, what creates emotion in me, what is my passion about connecting with horses. How do we eliminate stress and tension through self-knowledge and self-management? So this is not about how to teach you how to control your horse, how to teach you how to get your horse to stop being spooky, to stop him not going on the trailer, to make him stand still so you can get on. This is about teaching you how to teach your horse how to have the self-management. How he can empower himself by having self-knowledge. He has to know who he is. What sort of skills does he have in his bag? Does he have the tools? Does he know what to do? Does he know what tools are? What's going on in his body? Does he have control of that, or does he feel like he's being controlled? Really, this is really the things that my life is revolved around when I meet horses, when I try to help people. What does all that even mean? We're going to be talking about that. I'm going to try to create clarity through this whole process, to give you a really clear idea that you can reflect on your own situation, your own story, your own position, your own journey, wherever that is, whatever discipline, however old your horse is, however much experience you've had. If you've come into horses yesterday, or you've been in it for 45 years, you've won 10 gold medals, you're wanting to ride the first time in the forest, whatever it might be, we want to really create the understanding of the meaning of something that you really can understand and have knowledge to be able to take away from this situation. And then we're going to move on to the second demonstration. Is going to be more about how do we prepare a young horse for success, for the first outing, first competition, first time in the forest, first time you are presenting him with something. How do we ensure that he has the right tools and we've prepared him well enough that he has success? And or turn a situation around for an older horse. So he may have had an existing trauma, some experiences that he was not prepared for, that has created an undesired behavior, a repeated protection mechanism, a pattern of flight, whatever it might be. We're going to be talking about that also in the riding today. So my wish for this event, guys, is to be able to inspire you, to be able to take you out of your comfort zone and to give you some self-knowledge, some self-belief, and inspire you with some new ideas that you dare to try to better yourselves and to better your own lives in order to better your horses. So guys, I hope you're ready for the ride. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are. I just went into the Superman room, spun around, and out came a horse. Where are we going to start? I'm going to start by talking a little bit about a horse's feeling of being in control or feeling like he is controlled by somebody. Does he feel like he's being controlled, or does he feel like he's in control? This basic feeling for a horse flows through everything. It's going to give him an understanding of where he is within the space, where he is in relation to you. It's going to give him a sense of being able to make good decisions. How can I be a good decision maker? I have the power and the knowledge to make a decision which determines how I feel in a certain situation. So I'm going to give an example of what normally happens when somebody comes with a horse and wants some help, and they have an undesired behavior. It doesn't really matter what that undesired behavior. It might be a Grand Prix horse that just had a meltdown at the last World Cup show. It could be a horse that someone is getting on the first time and the horse doesn't stand still. It could be a horse that had a horse shy episode and is now a little bit insecure. How this normally looks is the person comes in the arena, and this is what it looks like. Now there's varying levels of tension, fear, questioning in the horse's mind. He's either super insecure and he's not sure where he has to be, he's asking himself a lot of questions, and 1 minute the person is leading the horse, the next minute they come to me, they try and stop, the horse is leading them, they're starting to move out of the way. They're managing the horse. They're trying to manage the situation. In that moment, the horse is not having the feeling that he's in control. You normally get a situation where there's generally two types of people. To generalize, I will have the mummy, and the mummy is generally concerned about the horse feeling okay. It's all right, good boy, I'm going to hold you and I'm going to try to make sure you don't do the right thing because I really want you to do everything right while we're in this situation. Or you will have the dictator. The dictator is often embarrassed when the horse doesn't stop and maybe starts to give a little bit of punishment to try to control the horse, to manage the horse in that situation. And so both of those two things are not empowering to the horse. The mummy is going, the reassurance at some stage, or probably from the very beginning, is not going to give reassurance. The situation is going to outweigh the reassurance. So basically when mummy's saying, it's all right, it's good boy, and he's in his head going, it's not all right, I don't know why I'm here, and what's going to be asked of me, and what the expectation is, and I'm not feeling I'm managing myself in this situation, I feel my energy's up because I've got lots of questions going in my mind, and you're restraining that situation. And so the energy in my body, the tension, the physiological reaction, reflex in my body is letting me feel like I'm not in control of this situation. You have anxiety, uncertainty. The other situation, of course, with the dictator that's trying to control the horse is in a battle from the beginning. This is also the case in riding. You will, from the ground, often be in the same situation as you are in the saddle. So trying to mechanically control the horse, keep the horse under control. Now, the thing is that over the last decade or two, horses have changed a lot. A lot. And the old phrase of, yeah, we've been doing this for 100 years, so why would we change? You have to change because the horse has changed. We are breeding horses with more athleticism, more power, more energy. And what comes with that is a higher level of natural instinct. And so the horse's natural level of instinct makes them more sensitive. Their survival instincts are much higher. So the old Oldenburg from 20 years ago, where good riding means the horse stayed on your aids and you kept him with you, was possible. The reason why I have 30 emails a day which start with, I have this horse, is because those methods are not working anymore of just trying to keep the horse under control through a technical aspect of being a good horse person and being able to manage your horse on the ground, in the saddle, wherever it is. It's not working anymore because the horse's natural instincts are much higher than that. This is why we are starting to have horses that are still blowing up. Why lunging in the beginning of breaking in, starting a horse under saddle, lunging it until it's tired, or getting it used to a saddle or used to the rider, or sneaking on in a quiet way, not educating him, not teaching him what he's about to be exposed to or what we're about to ask him. Because we're not teaching that, the horse is just being put into a situation and we are hoping that he's born knowing what to do. And so when you have a horse with this high level of energy, natural sense of survival, that is going to outweigh the control. So it's that time where we need to teach him, empower him to be in control of himself. So how do we change that from the beginning? The first step, the first foundation of a horse feeling like he's in control because he has awareness of where he is within the space and where he is in relation to you. A lot of the things you'll see will be looking like a kind of method or training. It might be seen as horsemanship because I have a rope halter and because I ask the horse to back up or I move his feet. But what's really important, what's really crucial to have an awareness of and to keep in mind is the way in which you ask something. What is the dialogue? What is the language in which you use? And that you can always bring awareness to how the horse can make a good decision for himself. This is the difference again between teaching you how to teach your horse to be in control of himself, not having a good technique of how I get a horse to go backwards. Because then it's not useful for anybody else. If I'm very good at backing a horse up, then you have to work a long time at getting a horse to back up and being as good as me, controlling him again. But if you can learn how to teach the horse, how to be aware and put himself in the right position, then you're empowering also the horse. So this first step of the awareness part is changing from this position to this one. And this position is just giving space in order for the horse to see where you are. So now he can see all of me, and the focus is now on me. Now what I want to teach him is about the space between me and him. So when I stop here, a lot of the horses, of course, are not aware of the space of conversation, we call it, between us, and they get to here. And then we push the horse back, and often the horse is pushing into us. So it's not about where the horse is, it's about the awareness of the space between us. And I'm doing this by creating energy in the space where I don't want them to be. So I'm walking, and I'm slowing down, and I stop. And is he aware? No. So I turn, and I'm creating energy in the space I want him to be aware of. I'm not pushing him back, wiggling the rope, telling him to go back. I'm here. And I'm communicating with the sensation of this space, the thought of the space, the body language in the space, projection of energy, the voice. I use a specific sound for backwards, and I'm putting energy into that space so he focuses on the space. Yes. And then I test it. So walking by saying, I'm speeding up, I'm slowing down, I feel slow in my body. I'm teaching myself the sensation and awareness of myself, speeding up, slowing down. Does he self-correct? Does he self-regulate? Is he now aware of the space of conversation, the space between us? We're teaching him about that space. When he has an understanding and awareness of where he is within the space between us, he has an understanding of where he is within the space. He's not being held, restrained. He's standing on his own two legs, and he starts to manage himself, self-management. It's the first time often when a horse comes in training that I say, energy in the space, relax. I work towards this first moment where the horse starts to self-regulate. So if I'm speeding up, trying to create good camera angles for you guys, when I slow down, I want him to be aware of that space, to start to self-regulate and feel like he's managing himself. What often happens in that situation is a horse comes in with high energy. Heads up, he's looking far in the distance. His physiology is up, so his energy is up. So the circulation of thoughts is fast. When he starts to be thinking about what's going on here, what changes is of course that physiology. The energy is coming down. He becomes very aware of this space. He's not mentally and physically somewhere else. What is also then changing in that very moment is the part where you see someone leading their horse in and you are not sure who's leading who. And this happens with somebody that has been in horses a very short time. But this is also the view that you can have when you go to an international, highest level competition, eventing, jumping, dressage, and they have to do the vetting. It's controlling. You see a lot of people not able to manage this energy because it's then them trying to manage the horse, control the horse, instead of the horse being able to manage themselves. So we want to change this view. This is avoiding, again, an ugly photo, a disaster video where someone's going in the trot up and they can't manage their horse anymore because there's this friction, restriction of restraint of energy and the natural flight and survival instinct of the horse, and then an explosion of energy, a horse turning and someone not being able to control. The horse rears up and strikes out and knocks the person out. He turns, kicks another horse. The horse gets away. The head of the jury and the vets, ooh, woo, woo, woo. This is not helping. Learn the simple art of teaching a horse to manage himself. It is no longer the job of the human to control the horse. So this basic foundation, this step alone, starts to go up into all other aspects of working with the horses. Teaching them to manage themselves, teach them to be in control of their own physical and mental soundness. If they are looking after themselves because they are aware of where they are within the space, where they are in relation to you, they become intelligent about the decisions they make. This is the learning position. This position is going to turn into this one. Again, we are not here. He is learning here because we've worked on, we're teaching to him before doing to him. This you will hear a lot. Teaching to him before doing to him. We can't expect him to guess. He's not born knowing what to do. We can't do something over and over until he gets used to it and says, well, I didn't die there, so I suppose I can continue to do that. It works in a lot of situations. It's how most horses operate, are forced to operate, learn to cope with something. Learning and coping is something that shouldn't be in the same sentence. So we get to this point where we walk, energy up. If I slow the energy down, he's slowing down. And we want to be able to have the feeling that we don't have to control him. He's able to control and manage himself. So again, speeding up. And we start to be able to change the speed a little, slow down. If the horse starts to walk more forward in this moment, past me, so if I'm giving him the sweet spot, be next to me, next to my shoulder. If I stop, have some awareness of the space, so lifting up, having some awareness of this space. Footloose is thinking I would much rather roll in this situation when I come into the arena and having a walk around. So then walking and learning this position. So we're going to work on this a bit now because Yes. Little speed. Oh, good. And then slowing down. Body language. Letting him feel the sweet spot. Of course, we're teaching to him before doing to him, not expecting him to know this from the beginning, but he has an awareness of my body language, putting an awareness into the space. He's feeling my body language. Yes. And so I'm not restraining him and controlling him at that moment. So I'm walking faster, I'm starting to walk slower. It might seem like a simple thing, but just working on these simple things gives your horse the sense that he's managing himself. And we're removing this situation of controlling the horse. Good boy. So going from there, we get more into the awareness stuff. This exercise alone, from this position, as I said, is going to change the energy up to, it is the point where a horse comes in and you see the body language and the energy up and the restraint, the conflict here with the control. I pick up the rope, I give a little simple awareness of the space. The horse is no longer there, he's here, he steps backwards, he finds the rest. The transformation in the horse is in seconds. So this part of it is already giving him a sense that he's here in the space. Good boy, he has an awareness of this. And then it allows me to start to go and feel how the horse is further. So I'm going to take the blanket off here. And then we can see the horse's body. And so the second part of the awareness for me is really feeling how the horse is in the body. We have a great connection, of course, with the physiology. How the physiology is affecting the mind. And so when I start to go through and feel how a horse is, I'm teaching myself where the tension is in the horse. What is tension? Tension for me is a contraction, a reflex of the body shortening. And when you have the muscles shortening, contracting, this is a defense in the body. The same as when a horse is surprised or spooked in a moment. The body is through flight, through serve and protect. The single one most important thing to a horse is, 90% of you said it, survival. Single one most important thing to a horse is survival. If somebody asks you that in 1 year, 1 week, 10 years, 20 years, you have the answer. Survival. Through that, he's looking for a position of comfort. He's born with a map, the GPS, that helps him to survive in nature. From Mother Nature, that's the only tool he has. So when there's a situation where he doesn't know what to do, this is also really important. The only reason a horse doesn't do what we want, or what the expected outcome is because he doesn't have the information. When you don't know what it is you have to do in a situation, the same with us, you become uncertain. When you're uncertain, this puts a threat, a risk on your possible survival. And so then your body goes into predict and protect, flight, or fight, or freeze, whatever it might be. I won't go deep into the technical terms and the process, but just the basic of what is happening. So if the horse is unsure what to do, the body is going to go into a moment of reflex, contraction. The body's going to be tight. The logical feeling for a horse in this moment is, of course, the same feeling as if he was running from a predator or something in nature is giving him the feeling that he has to get out of that space. You really want to lie down? It's also good if you're going to do that. So that is tension. And so when somebody says to me, oh, riding requires a certain level of healthy tension. Tension for me is a contraction. It's a contraction in the body that's resulted in uncertainty, fear. It's a reaction in the body. For me, stability, relaxation, control comes from stability. You don't have to have tension in that moment. When we put a leg aid on, we don't want the horse to first go into tension and then movement, which is also predominantly why horses start to get insecure, why we have tension. Tension, think of skin stretching over a drum, that's tension. We don't want to feel this here in the horse's skin. How do we reduce tension? For me, it's about awareness. A horse, of course, is always looking for the comfortable position. So, if we can bring some awareness to the body of where the tension is, we're teaching our own hands what this is, and we're also giving our horse a feeling of where the tension is. For me, two of the most predominant places of tension is here, where the neck is joining the shoulder. This is when the energy is traveling into the body, natural direction of energy. The horse goes into contraction, the muscles start to tighten, contract, get short. The energy is coming all up into the head, into this position. Predict and protect, into this shape. So later on we go through some patterns in order to regulate the direction of energy circulation in the body. But the first part about just feeling how your horse is in the skin. When you touch him, does his skin get tight? Do you feel the muscles underneath the skin get tight? If that is so, just keeping your hand there, creating some awareness that he is aware of this feeling, this sensation in the body, following the line of contraction in the muscle. You can practice on yourself if you flex your bicep and you lift the muscle up. When you flex your bicep, the muscle goes up. If you lift it up, the muscle automatically wants to release. He was wanting to do that for a while. So I told you guys this was live. This is real life events. What happens? Footloose is used to in the evening coming in, and if he's just walking, he's going to have a roll. Does that feel better? Good boy. Yes. Shall I join you? I'm going to go on the other side. I'm just going to talk while you do that. So this feeling and this sensation in the body, muscle contracts. If you feel it in yourself, you contract your bicep, you pull it up, you feel it wants to release. So you're getting a manual letting go of the muscles in the body. This is also can be the same with the horse. So feeling the sensation in the body, feeling what happens underneath the skin. As I say, two of the main points where the neck joins the shoulder, this part here. Having an awareness that this part of the body, the horse is able to let that part of the body become loose. Also here, the flank. When you feel the flank, does the body go into contraction? It starts to shorten. When the body goes into contraction, keeping our hand there is giving an awareness to the horse of how that feels. Following that contraction will let the body start to relax. As soon as the body starts to relax and you get less tension, it's then going away in that moment. Letting the horse feel that the release of the body is what gives him the good feeling, and that he is empowered by the knowledge of how he can make himself feel better in that situation. I knew we'd get to the other side. So not only it gives him the knowledge of and the empowerment of how he can change how he feels through his physiology, it may also give him the information of the fact that his body does things without him knowing. So this is a pattern. This is a pattern. They say don't work with animals and children. So giving him the sense of this means that he has an awareness again in his body. Sometimes the horses have a pattern, a tension movement pattern, and something that's circulating in their body that happens in their unconscious. They hear something, their body starts to go into contraction, they have tension in the body, a moment where the physiology goes into predict and protect, and then their brain says, oh shit, that doesn't feel good. And so if their body's starting to do things without them aware of it, they can be in this tension pattern, this tension cycle. And so we can also have the same things. If before I started this live event, I was to be standing there going, oh, I have to talk, and oh, how many people are going to be watching, and I start to let my physiology hold tension, after a while, my brain can't function properly. It starts to change my thoughts. I'm no longer functional. I can no longer be feeling present and feeling in control of the situation. I'm then controlled by my physiology. So the awareness of what's happening in the body, that the horse is aware of it. Oh my God, like, how did I not know that was happening? What also happens when a horse goes into tension is he starts to compartmentalize the body. This is also giving you a very good idea when I look at a horse, when I read a situation. We're now getting into the diagnostic part of understanding your horse. When I look at a horse's conformation, this is not telling me how a person is riding, how good his gymnastic exercise is of the horse every day. Because for the simple fact that if we were going to compare the amount of time in which somebody is riding, working a horse, in relation to the pattern in the horse's body, let's say someone rides an hour a day, 45 minutes, half an hour, for the 23 hours the horse is not with you, he's exercising the body in a different way. If your horse is having a lot of tension, then the body goes into contraction, you have a reflex, and then the parts of the body start to separate. You have this bracing. The back starts to be hollow. The neck starts to look a little bit upside down and back to front. Seahorse neck. Hollow backs. Hind legs out the back. So this contraction, this tension in the horse's body is going to give them, one, a bad pattern. They're not going to have a good connection in their body. Having a connection and awareness of yourself, a conversation, a dialogue, in where you feel connected. You have an awareness of your body and how it speaks to itself. If you are in tension, it's the same as being in fear. If you are in constant fear and flight, if someone is putting you in a space where you're having to face your worst fear, heights, spiders, snakes, in that very moment, your body goes into reflex, you have a reaction, and then what happens is you're not aware of where your body is anymore. You get into the flight state. You're not connected with yourself anymore. So if your horses are in a tension movement pattern, they're operating, of course, with only the knowledge that they're born with, because they have not been taught the awareness and management of themselves and a good way of moving, a good pattern. Then they are slaves to their own body. They start to live in a constant state of protection. This is making horses insecure, uncertainty. It gives all the undesired behaviors. Horses that are noise sensitive, horses that are horse shy, all the list of the gazillion things, problems we're running into come from this. So this feeling the body, Footloose knows it so really well. I don't have to really hardly even touch him. I just say, how do you feel in this area of your body? He's now going to the inside. You see, I'm not touching him, but he's thinking about the inside of his body. Self-regulate. He starts to say, what's going on in here? Is this really relaxed, this part of your body? Is there something you can do in your body that is going to allow you to feel more relaxed? That sensation. So when you have a horse that is fixated, distracted on external sources of feeling secure, he's looking for other horses, he's looking for external things to give him a sense of relaxation and comfort, or he's sourcing outside things to watch, protect myself, make sure I'm on guard and there's nothing going to come. No, start to look inwards and start to feel how you manage yourself determines how you feel. If a horse can learn to control himself, he learns to control all situations. This is the simple fact. So this is the awareness. Attention movement pattern. Attention movement pattern is, again, I said in the intro, caused by us. It is us that is responsible for a horse going into a tension movement pattern. So if we consider in the beginning how we would start a young horse. So first, let's not even talk about getting to that stage. How we approach a horse. How we try to get the foal to wear a halter. How we try to take the legs the first time. How the foal is approached by the farrier the first time, the vet the first time, the first interaction. Does he make a connection with you? Or are you going to him to try to do something with him or to him? In that moment of experiencing a situation where he doesn't know what to do, he's going into contraction, protection. Oh, I'm not sure. And then at one moment, he either gets away and he feels better, or you make a connection and he feels like, oh, okay, I got to a situation where I don't have to feel I have to run away anymore. The pattern is in the body. You've already installed the tension pattern, the predict and protect. He now feels, because of that reaction somewhere deep inside, that is what kept me safe in that situation. So learning the connection part, of course, is important. If you haven't got that from the beginning, you don't have the ability, or you have a horse later on in life, you can retrain that. And that's with the awareness. What's the awareness of what's going on in the body, tension movement. When we're starting young horses in the saddle, first thing we do, put them on the lunge, pick up the whip. We create pressure. We'll talk about it later on. What are the elements in which horses need to learn how to manage themselves? We create pressure, movement, sound. The horse first goes into tension, starts to move. We think, oh, he's forward. We stop with the pressure. The horse is creating a tension movement pattern. This is not about the correct order of movement. To create good functionality in a horse and to reverse undesired behaviors, whatever they may be, I'm first taking away that tension movement pattern that is created from the beginning. And so when we are aware of this tension movement pattern, we start to think about this dialogue that's going on in the body. The tension movement pattern is created, of course, by this change in the horse, the development in the horse, the modern horse with the techniques that we were using 100 years ago that we still use. This is where we have a situation where we have the expectation that he's born knowing what to do. Where we take the horse and we going to get on and he's insecure and he doesn't want to stand still. And we have the undesired behavior. Where did he learn that? Where did he learn about the elements of being okay with standing still once someone gets on. I have a horse that's really tense and I can't take my jacket off. He was not born knowing how to manage himself when someone was up there and taking the jacket off. This is human environment situations. And so it's important that and the good thing is we can teach it. Even if the horse has had a moment of insecurity, we can teach him how to manage himself in that situation. The other thing I say with a lot of stallions, and particularly stallions that come, is that is the major thing, tension movement patterns. So how do I get the horse to stop running off with my rider when he hears the noise? Don't bloody teach him to run off in the first place. You know, taking a horse to the process of a stallion show. What are they doing in the beginning? Let the horse free, create a lot of pressure, you know, the little tin with rice in it, or the bloody whatever you're using to create a flight reaction in the horse, that he shows himself. So of course the one with the most movement is often the one that's most scared. So the process is flawed, because what do we want later on? We want to put the rider on, and we don't want him to be reactive to noise. We don't want him to be afraid in a situation where a man comes to you and wants to hand you the whip to ride. Yet we've chased him for the first 3 years, and we've taught him to do this. So of course prevention is better than cure. How do we teach them to not run away when someone approaches? How do we teach them to not be afraid when we take our jacket off? Don't teach them that from the beginning. It's the easiest solution. So, going from there, we're now going to talk about the pattern inside the body. Had a lot of emails this week from people with the same situation. So, going from there, we start to be able to feel how the horse is in the body. What is the pattern? Tension patterns cause, as I said before, compartmentalizing in the body. The body separates itself. It's not connected anymore. What I want to be able to teach the horses is to have a conversation in their body. What is going to happen with a horse that is having a lot of tension is they're going to be very north-facing with their energy. They're not going to have this basic posture that they stand like this. They're going to be often standing this way. So energy up all the time. When we ask them to simply step to the side, their body is going to take a forward step like this. We often then fall into restraining them, holding them. So what I want to be able to teach a horse is stability, and to be able to be centered in his balance, self-carriage, how to be able to stand relaxed. With a horse with a lot of tension, which is carried through his body, which creates situations where we have ugly photos and disaster videos. From the beginning, when you're opening the rein here on a horse with a lot of tension, he often can't step to the side, number one. And when he steps to the side, he's stepping forward over you all the time. Here, forward with the left front. What I want to be able to teach them is to be able to step behind and across with the front leg. So when I open the rein, I simply want the horse to be able to open the front leg, so left front to the left, right front behind. Behind and across. Across, behind. Across, behind. This step. What is happening there is, one, you start to open the shoulder. When a horse is having tension, it's closing the front. It's getting narrow in the front. Often front legs are getting in the ground. This is what creates the underneck in a lot of cases. When we open that front leg, this is releasing tension. The energy doesn't go up into the head. It's releasing tension here through the body, opening the shoulder. A horse that's having this feeling of the energy going up through the head, when he opens and he starts to relax, he's not in self-carriage, so they fall forward again. You get a lot of horses, when you back them up, you make them go backwards, They're going backwards, their stability and support didn't change, so they walk over you again. And you think, back him up, bloody keep backing him. And then you're in this conflict of the natural balance of the horse. So this ability to be able to transfer the weight and to teach your horse to be able to create stability by stepping behind and across. This opening up of the body is allowing the horse to find rest, connection through the feet, stability here, behind, opening the front, and then it comes up through the shoulder, the neck, the head, and then to the hand, creating this relaxed posture. In the beginning, the horse will open up and start to relax. You start to open this part of the body, the neck goes down. He may start to walk forward, but you help him to find stability again, opening the shoulder. So this is releasing tension again. This is also teaching him the meaning of a rein aid. So teaching him what the rein aid means. This is going to help later on when we want to ride around something, between something, over something. This is opening up the body to go around something instead of pressing the body to go towards something. So it's again teaching him a sensation, a feeling in his physiology that says, yes, I could do that. That's the exact thing that I'm reversing on a horse that doesn't like the judge's box, doesn't like the pot plants. They say no, we say, come on, he's pushing more back. No, open the front. Change the physiology, the body says, yes, I can go forward now. Teaching to them before doing to them. What is this sensation in the body? Releasing tension, opening the front leg, getting a posture that says, yes. This is the process. The opening the front leg is also the way we can start to connect and create a good order of movement in the forward posture. A lot of horses that create tension, a tension movement pattern is blocking the body, holding, getting tight, tension, and then moving a hind leg. The way I reverse that to make a horse, to teach a horse to be relaxed, in control of the body, connected, have a good order of movement, relaxation, stability, balance, confidence, is to teach them relaxation, flexion, open the front leg, connect the hind leg. So that is 1, 2, flexion, 3, front leg, 4, hind leg. A horse that is a high level of natural sensitivity learns from the beginning tension movement pattern. He's first tightening the body, no relaxation. No flexion because he's already gone into tension. He then moves the hind leg in flight. So there's no relaxation, there's no flexion, there's no opening the front, there's only giving energy from the hind. So he goes into a predict and protect posture from the beginning. This becomes the pattern he takes with him for all the 23 hours he's not with you. It's how he operates in the field, in the stable, the first time you go to the show, the first time you take him to a situation where the energy level of the environment gets higher, you go in the forest, it's more windy. He's moving, he's living, he's operating with this system that is going to create undesired behaviors because it's a failed system in the body. So how do we create the good forward step to feel connected? Diagonal pairs. Good order of movement in forward. Opening up the front first, across, behind, across. When I ask for a forward step, I'm looking that the right front and the left hind go together in this fashion. So he's having the relaxation in the body. So when I touch him here, because of my awareness, he's not getting tight. He's staying relaxed in the flank here, loose. Relaxation, flexion. The body flexes, the ribs move. He opens the front leg, and then he engages the hind leg. And he's able to make a forward step with connection in the body, diagonal pairs. I will show you, good boy, from the shape for the carrying posture. as we call TRT method. Shape for the carrying posture, good functionality, creating the clock shape from the human perspective. If we look from above, for the human it should look like a clock. You're the center of the clock, the horse is the hour hand, the whip is the second hand. The whip is going to be the connecting guide. What is the meaning of the whip? Teaching to him before doing to him. What is the meaning of the whip? Something he has to follow. It gives him a point of contact, of reference. How do you feel here? How do you feel here in the flank? How do you feel here in the rump? Teaching to him before doing to him. We taught him already from the connection of our awareness that he can change the feeling sensation in his body. So, another undesired behavior. I can't ride him with the whip. Maybe the question should be, why do we ride with the whip? Is it to give connection, understanding of the body, or is it to make the horse go forward? That's a different topic. But again, that the horse is not afraid. He's not going into a tension movement pattern. When the whip comes towards him, I don't want him to breathe in. I don't want to create a horse that has a breathing pattern that is above the midline. Diaphragma, up, up, up. Add pressure in the environment. Up, breathing pattern, tension movement pattern, up, explosion. So how do we avoid this? By making that connection first, letting him feel the whip, then I'm asking for the same step. I want to be able to create body language, so the sensation, the reason why we do sensation first, everything you put behind your last explanation aid is going to give the ability for him to be able to refine it. Horse never gets softer than the first pressure you give. If the first pressure is a sensation, the thought of moving, the body language, the voice, and then the touch. This is the same in riding. How you can avoid making your horse do something or teaching him to do something. If we can reduce it just to a thought, that's already pretty soft. If we can reduce it just to body language. So we're looking at the shape for the carrying posture. We're looking to create a connection diagonal pairs. A horse that is in tension will want to run over you. He's not letting the energy out through the shoulder. The energy is coming straight up through the neck. We want to be able to teach him to let the energy out through the left shoulder. Connection through right hind, left front. I keep the connection of the whip on him because I want him to feel the connection of the body and to follow eventually my leg aid when I ride. Not to move away from it, to be reactive. To get him that he's reactive on the leg. That he is in a tension movement. Reactive, to get him reactive on the leg. It's the most ridiculous fault ever in riding. Because it's creating, again, a lack of functionality, tension movement. It's fear-based. Again, Footloose is, I can hear his thoughts. He's thinking, why are we here so late in the arena? Must be about rolling. Why are we really here? Can I lick and chew on? What's going on? Why are you talking so much? I want to just do something. Let me do something. And then when I go to do something, he's thinking, yes, yes. And over anxious. Good boy. So this connection, as I explained, this is going to create a state of relaxation, connection in the body. This is the pattern we then are able to take with us. If we get a moment of tension, this is going to be the control shape. It's going to get them back into a sense of being in control of the situation. Being able to do those two things is going to already give you a sense of being able to have a good pattern to reduce some of these undesired behaviors. We're going to go basically very quickly through the tools. So, inspiring you people to want to try something different, new. Often a lot of professionals come and say, they see me doing a clinic, waving a flag, it's different. You know, riders and professional riders have practiced other things, technical aspects of riding, how to create a good performance. There's a lot of things to work on there. But the most important thing is to realize is you're all working with horses, so to understand the horse and give him a good operating system should be the first thing you're able to do. A lot of professionals will say, oh yeah, he's standing there with a bag and a flag and an umbrella, what the hell is that good for? How can we use it? How do we apply that? It's in these basic steps. This is of course a short review of them, but if you just follow the basic foundation of this first pattern that I've just showed, front legs, hind legs, clock shape, think about a couple of tools, prepare them, give them some understanding of how they can manage themselves in the environments we're putting them in. If you can't teach your horse how he should approach something or what to do when something approaches him, he's going into a state of contraction, reaction. Just think if you ride him in an arena or in the forest or in a place where he's approached by something, sound is approaching you. You're affected by sound because it approaches you and you hear it. If your body goes into a reflex reaction to that because you don't know what to do with yourself, you're forced only to react because you don't have the knowledge to know what to do with yourself. It's about teaching them. How do we start? Approach. Doesn't matter if the thing is still and he has to approach it, or he is still, the thing's approaching him. We want to teach him a yes posture. A no posture is when something comes at you and you lean backwards. A yes posture is when your body says, yes, I'm not being chased, I am the chaser. So these simple things. Being able to go through the horse's body, teaching to him before doing to him. We've touched him in these areas. So going through and touching him with a strange object that's moving different, feeling different. If you go into any international arena and you do this, jumping, dressage, eventing, one, you don't have too many friends, but 99% of the horses don't know how to manage themselves in that situation. Why do they react with an undesired behavior, something that we don't want? Because we didn't teach them anything else. We didn't teach them what to do with themselves in that situation to be comfortable. So the touch, simply being able to do that. If your horse, when you start to approach and he has a contraction, let's say you start to approach and he's starting to draw the leg in. This is not about desensitizing him, getting him used to it, rubbing him until he just ignores it. This is about empowering him with the knowledge of what to do with himself. If I start to approach a front leg and this front leg starts to contract and go in, bit of snortiness, I can take this bag away and I can open the front leg. I can change the physiology. So his leg is not doing this. I lead the front leg here and say, how do you feel now? And he's like, whoa. I feel in my body that I could lean into something. And then when I approach, of course, the reactiveness of the body is going away. You're empowering him by the knowledge and the awareness of his physiology. This is approach. If your horse is afraid of approaching the wheelie bin when you're going in the forest, when you go into the arena and you're trying to approach the pot plant, the judge's box, you have a jumping horse, doesn't like the brick wall, he doesn't like the water jump. Whatever that might be, the approach of another horse, a horse that is horse shy. This is the foundation of this. This is the beginning of the teachings, the technique, the awareness, the understanding of 1 + 1, so you can multiply it. You can build it up to go into real situations where you maybe simulate things that are similar to what you are experiencing creates the undesired behavior. Movement. Something moving around him, over him, under him. The next element. What we can do in the training, in the teaching, is start to say, what's going on here? So if the horse is starting to get a little tension when we move over, we can say, this awareness, thinking about the inside of yourself, the management of the inside of yourself is going to determine how you feel. Again, teaching him. Don't allow him to think, the only option I have is the protection here. If he starts to move, let's not kill my next element. If he starts to move, what we want to do is guide him with our left hand in a forward step that creates connection in the body, teaching to him before doing to him. We've installed a system that lets him reconnect with his body. If he starts to go into a tension, contraction pattern, separating himself from his body, we show him a pattern that enables him to connect with himself again. We can simulate the riding. We're going along, we're in a nice circle, and then some idiot runs into the arena with a dog, and there's some pressure. We want that he stays with the connection of himself, stays in the diagonal pairs, which leads him into a state of relaxation. So this is the process of being able to simulate, to prepare for situations in which we're going to put the horses in. When you're unprepared, your horse is going to get in situations where he doesn't know how to manage himself, he's going to get in a fear state. We can take ugly photos, we can make disaster videos. This is the basics of it. And of course, we're continually putting our horses in situations in which they don't know how to manage themselves. When you don't know how to manage yourself and you get into a state of fear, this is trauma. This is an experience, a memory, an emotion connected to an event where you were threatened. Give them the knowledge and avoid the situations. Noise. So you can see now the actual use of the tool. It's not about getting him used to a flag or a bag or an umbrella. It's about the element of what that tool holds. So when you start, of course, I'm always looking to improve the level of self-management. How can I up the level of the influence, the experience in the environment? Ask him more and more difficult questions and see, does he manage himself in that situation? Is he thinking about the inside of his body? Boy. And is he really knowing that how he feels is determined by the tools and the physical action he takes in the moment of experiencing what is going on in the environment? So this is the simulation, this is the preparation of this. So we can take it to doing backflip off his ass and double-handed whip cracking and setting our ass on fire and doing a lot of fancy stuff. But as I said, we're not here to get followers and to impress and to become famous. I want to give you usable, doable things that you can do yourself in order to create less situations where the horses are having to get into panic, and showing that there's a possibility that the places and spaces we're putting our horses in is not fair to them. Let's go to the Q&A.
Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that demo with Footloose and Tristan. Really interesting to see all your comments and see how cheeky he was. He really had a great time and a party of his own there. Now is the time to send in your questions, or have a few lined up, but if you want to ask Tristan, who's coming right up, now is your opportunity to do so. Welcome back.
Entering the room of clearness.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
All right, there were a lot of questions. Had to look through them, but there were a few interesting ones, particularly from Minna. And Minna asked, if the rider is tense and nervous, is it better to show an honest emotional state or to try and pretend to be braver than you actually are to make sure that your horse doesn't also get nervous?
So of course this is a state of emergency, being in the situation. As you go through the preparation of learning how to teach your horse to be in control of himself, you're also learning an awareness of yourself. You're starting to get into the right mindset. You're starting to give yourself tools that you're also not in the situation where you become uncertain. It's the same for you as it is for the horse. When you don't know what is going to happen, and you don't know what it is you have to do in order to feel safe, in order to be able to know the next step, in order for that to continue to go in a good way, if you don't know that, you become insecure. In the moment, and you're sitting up there and you're not prepared, you have not put yourself in a good situation to know what to do, faking it in the end is not going to be a good solution. You of course want to be able to control your mental state in being able to think clearly. So, you know, in that moment of thinking, oh, I'm going to have positive thoughts, you know, I'm going to be relaxed, I'm going to be relaxed, I'm going to be okay. This can sort of buffer the situation in helping you to stay composed and to not let your physiology get into a state that is maybe going to cause more tension, more fear, that of course your horse is going to read. Different horses at different levels, of course, but you want to, at the end of the day, be able to go through the situation, and going through the situation and being able to teach your horse what it is he has to do with himself will also teach you. You're doing it together. You're gaining knowledge about what are the things he knows, what is he good at, what is he not good at, what am I good at, what am I not good at, what are the situations that make me insecure. The thing about also doing these things on the ground, the groundwork, is it also puts you in a situation where you're not doing this and getting on and saying, well, I hope he's not going to run today, I hope he's not going to buck today, I hope he's not going to get afraid and start running off when he hears the neighbour's tractor, or he hears my husband start the lawnmower, or those people are going to run those horses down the aisle, or someone's going to go in with the feed wagon and make a clang and a bang and mower's going to panic and run away. You know that you and your horse have prepared for those things. You know the clear communication, the good order of movement in order for you both to be relaxed. You have a system in which you can fall back on when you're challenged by something in your environment or in the situation that you're in. And of course, you really know how your horse is, how much he's able to manage himself, to what level he's able to do that in a situation. And of course, when you know that, then you can also be more calm. You know, faking it through not knowing what's going to happen. I don't know how many spiders are behind that door, but I'm not going to let them know that I'm afraid. I'm going to pretend that I'm not scared. Of course, building up your physiology is going to help you, but it's in an emergency situation. If you learn how to manage yourself, what that situation is actually about, what are the elements involved in that situation, that is going to give you the strength and the tools and the knowledge to know what to do. This is going to eliminate fear. Knowledge, knowing what to do, is going to eliminate the insecure rider. It's the same for the rider as it is for the horse.
The next question is about what happens when you're trying to transfer the energy, the exercises from the ground into the saddle, and then specifically if something happens. So when you're outside on a gallop in the woods for the first time, or when you're out on a competition and a loud noise suddenly comes in a new environment, how do you put those exercises that you've taught your horse from the ground into practice on the saddle? So
who was asking that question?
Yeah, Mary Ross Fiscom.
So Mary Ross Fiscom, she must be in Australia, she's a bit ahead of time. She's into tomorrow, because that's what we're going to show in the next situation, the next demo. But it's a very good question, because when you start to see the groundwork, and you think, okay, oh, this is working all right on the ground. When I'm on the ground and I'm not in the saddle, my perspective, of course, changes in that moment. You're not on the ground looking at the horse, assessing the situation, feeling safe because you're standing on your own 2 legs instead of sitting on your horse's 4 legs. And what's very important about that situation is to build the bridge, both for yourself but also for your horse, because especially if you have a horse that already has a preconceived idea, he has some maybe not so good patterns in the body, some previous memory, experience and emotion to a certain event. He has triggers, he has reflexes to noise, movement, a dog that's red with a black collar and a man holding it. Whatever it might be, you are of course wanting to build a bridge between what you've prepared for in the riding and what you're going to do in the riding, what you're prepared for in the groundwork and what you're going to do in the riding. And building that bridge is important, of course, because of those preconceived ideas that your horse might have. He can be very good on the ground, and then you put saddle on, bridle on, you get on, and then all of a sudden he says, oh, I'm the riding horse again. And so he's approaching all situations with that preconceived idea of the past events in that situation. So the building of the bridge is very important. And it's just a process of going through the actual steps, so the good order of movement, the conversation in the body that you do on the ground, you also do in the saddle. So this is being able to control, to be able to guide the horse, the front legs backwards and sideways with the rein, and that you're able to guide the horse forwards and sideways with your leg. Left leg is connected to left hind, right leg to right hind, and so forth. And so that's the building of the bridge between what they know on the ground is the same as what they're then going to know in the riding. And then you're taking that further to the tools. And so being able to, we didn't show it in this session of the groundwork, but if you go to the online training and you've seen enough of my demonstrations live or in video form or other live events, you'll see we take the good pattern of the body to be able to navigate ourselves around situations in the arena. The elements of that is teaching a horse to be able to go around something, past something, between something, over something and under something. So this navigation that you do on the ground, you automatically start to do in and amongst your tools, the simulation of things in the environment that may challenge the horse's confidence to know what to do with himself, that you are able to simulate that, prepare for that in your training by then getting on and riding between something, over something, around something, under something. Also the simulation of finding someone you trust, doing the training with a buddy that also knows the groundwork, has also worked with the horse through the basic foundation on the ground, and you trust them, generally not your husband or if you're the husband, the wife that's looking for a little action while you're riding and they're saying, well, have you done your homework? I'm going to come with my umbrella at you. So simulating, we'll also show you in the next demonstration that also. So simulating, you're riding along and something flies up. How are you able to guide the horse in a way that they are able to find the good pattern, they're able to find the connection in their body, they're able to come back to the control state. They're not getting into a state of fear and flight, and they again know what it is they have to do when they're experiencing the element of movement, touch, sound or approach. This is what we're teaching them with the tools on the ground. They know what to do with themselves in that situation, then also in the riding. And the good thing about it is you're building a set of patterns, sequences, simulations, systems for the situations you think you might run into. So you can start to maybe know, okay, my horse had this bad situation, I'm going to prepare for that. I'm going to prepare so much that I can actually nearly simulate the situation on the ground in my training, so that if I run into that situation again, I know what it is I have to do, and my horse knows what it is I have to do in that situation. And so that really important thing of the preparation on the ground, the preparation in the riding, is that you're really teaching your horse what it is he needs to know for the real world. The better prepared you are, the more you understand what you have to do, the more better you've explained to your horse what they have to do, then the less chance you have of running into a situation where you simply get a moment where your horse doesn't know what he has to do. And so the other important thing about the preparation, of course, is, you know, in the moment that you teach your horse what it is he has to do, he's of course then letting go of the fear and the reaction. He then has the answer, and he opts for that answer because it doesn't involve fear. The moment he knows what to do with himself, the fear is going away. So the reason to react, the moment of flight, the connection to the predict and protect, the natural instinct of survival, is going, because he's no longer in a situation where he is surviving. He has the tools to know what to do, and you're also there to guide him back if he starts to wonder or be insecure. And you also know the sensation and the feeling of that because you've been through it in the process.
The next is from Kiara and Norman, and they're wondering what happens when you're feeding your horse around their body, but there's lots of tension and your horse tries to kick and bite you. You don't want to hit your horse or yank him on the halter because that causes more tension, but what should you do?
So the important thing is, on approach, is there is a spectrum of approach. So when you start to be able to go into an area where you feel this tension, don't think right away, okay, I have to go and I have to hold my horse. There will be a sense of where you're coming to, and there already start to be a sense of what is happening in my horse's body. Do I see the body start to be lifting up? Do I see the skin start to contract? Do I see a reflex? Do I see a contraction? And being at this distance from your spooky horse, you see Tess is not really reacting on the sense of my projected energy at the moment, not impressed by me at all. So that allows me to come further into the space and possibly make a connection. But if your horse is already feeling this, then being in that space, letting him know, giving him an awareness that you're aware what's going on. A lot of the times when you're going in, you're making a connection with your horse and he starts to defend, the first worry is, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what his intention is, and I don't know if he knows actually how I feel in this situation. So I'm starting to get quite a lot of negatives where I have to start to defend. So it's being aware from the first moment, the approach. This can happen before you even put the halter on. This can happen when you start to go towards the stable. How is your presence affecting your horse? Is he already starting to get into a negative protective pattern? So it's really important in that moment that you are able to stay in the conversation and also feel what would that conversation look like. What is the dialogue? What is the words? If we were to film that conversation, what would that look like? Would it look like someone coming and the horse going, "Woo, what are you doing? Oh, don't touch me there." What would that look like? How is your body language? How is your circulation of energy? Going through these processes will teach you, how much of myself is affecting or contributing to these situations of tension. Are we feeding off each other? Does my horse starting to get a little bit tense, create a little bit tension in me? Are we creating a cycle of insecurity between ourselves? Are we creating a situation where my horse starts to react the wrong way? I may be getting a little frustrated and angry because I don't want it to go in that way, and I run out of information. When the information runs out, when the knowledge runs out, the frustration begins. So through that process, you're really learning that interaction, that conversation. And so if you have a horse that is automatically defending, then you've gone through that acceptance barrier and you're already going towards something that is obviously now defendable. They're starting to feel that they're wanting to defend against each other.
You ready to move on to the next
demo?
Does it make sense? Yeah, I think it does. People are happy.
Yeah?
It's good to hear.
Okay. We are now ready, guys. We're about to head into the next demo. We've got a young horse here, not long under saddle. She is a sensitive horse, a horse with a lot of with high energy, She's a horse that's been out once, very successfully, in the young horse class. We use this as sort of a... and we try to teach them how to manage themselves in a good way. And when we go to that young horse class, for me, or for us as a group in the stable, it's not about the performance or the score just yet. It's about, is she happy in the environment? Is she able to manage herself with all the influences she's going to have, all the impressions, travelling in the truck or the trailer, arriving, seeing the other horses, feeling the energy from the other horses that may also be, or will be maybe insecure in those situations. And so that is the test, that is the feeling we want to receive when we go to those environments. That is what I'm going to go through with you now. I'm going to be able to transfer the short explanation. Remember, we're just getting a glimpse. We're also using horses, of course, that have been through these situations. A lot of people think, well, I want to see you start a fresh one. But of course, in this situation, I want to try to explain the teachable techniques. So I want to be able to show you at a speed where we can give some levels of information and not be starting with the green horse where we can start at step 1 and you see step 1 and we have to go from there. So I want to now be able to show you how we take that into the riding. How do we prepare a horse, a young horse that's maybe going for its first outing in the forest at its first competition? It's going to experience some new impressions. How do we prepare for that? Or in turn, how do we help an older horse that's maybe had some preconceived ideas, that has some undesired behaviors of being shy, being spooky, being noise sensitive, whatever it might be, being afraid of the rider, not being able to take your jacket off, these sorts of things. How do we prepare for that in the saddle, in the riding? Let's take a look. So guys, magically appeared. This is Melissa, my head rider here. Let's call it that. This is the first time I've called you that, I think, actually. Don't get any ideas, right? Nora is a for romance. What is she then? Cracksea Jazz? Cracksea. It's not important. She has 4 legs. She's young, sensitive. And so the process of being able to make a connection between the groundwork and the riding is to first be able to go through these patterns. The patterns is the explanation of the aids. So the explanation, the meaning of a rein aid, the meaning of the leg aid. Now why is that important? Because of course we don't want, when we put the leg on, that the horse is not understanding about following our energy, about offering to go forward. We have to make them go forward. The meaning of the leg aid on a sensitive one, that we have to ride for 3 months without our legs touching them, otherwise they're reactive and running off, and then after a while they get used to it, they learn to cope with it better and it didn't kill them, so they are okay with it. No, we want the explanation of the connection and the meaning of the aid. When they have a sense and a feeling of the body language, the voice, the contact, connection from the leg. We want to feel that a following from the leg aid. We want to feel that the body relaxes, has flexion, opens up, delivers energy. So this is what we want to be teaching. This is what it looks like in the saddle. So if Melissa comes towards me, and I'm going to simulate a little bit both. So what it looks like from the ground and what it looks like from the saddle. Do you have an itch? This is also important. So opening up the front legs first. So what's important for Melissa here is to not put her legs on, because this is a following of the rein aid, and that the horse is learning to step behind and across and relax. Very good. Yes. So when I do it from the ground, if I had a halter on, I would be opening this way, from this position. From the riding position, it's exactly the mirror image. I'm opening the rein here. Melissa is now opening the rein with the right. So she's guiding the right front leg open and sometimes a little bit asking the left front to go behind with the left rein, if necessary. In the end, we want to be hands-free. The legs have to be forward and off, because we don't want a confliction between following the leg aid forward and following the rein aid backwards and to side. Same on the other side. In the beginning, Nora grew really fast from being a little pipsqueak, a little foal, fine and delicate and pretty, to then, and release, good, to growing really fast, and she was a little bit spaghetti. She's very loose, very supple in the body, a little bit hypermobility. So then, of course, stability gets a little bit more difficult. So this is really important for her to be able to learn where the stability comes from. It's also really important for Melissa to learn the feeling of the 3 points of control on the rein. We don't want, when we open the front leg, for her to be, and it's mastery to do this, but we don't want it to be affecting the neck or the head. 3 points of control on the rein. One is the feet, the next one is the neck, and the one out of there is the head. So and then being able to connect all these. So being able to have the separation of this connection means that you are not riding the front, controlling the horse. You are able to guide and let the horse feel connection through all parts of its body. One more time the front leg so they can see what it looks like. Sometimes the backwards noise, feeling that she's behind and across, behind and across. Again, why is this important? You will see later on when we start to be able to maneuver around something, between something, over something, how this is really helpful, both in this direction and also, ooh, I'm not sure, ah, yes, I am sure. So it's building this connection in the body. Start to connect now the leg aid, the hind leg. So we're now looking for the understanding of the leg aid and the connection to the front. So lifting up here and having this step, and relax again. You see a little bit of the instability here. Again, the same the other side. So lifting a little bit, not bending the head, but making a connection from inside hind to outside front. This feeling, this feeling, this feeling, and relax, and not too much taking on the rein. So you want to have the feeling that we're having this connection in the body. We're not having a running away from the leg. We're not having a blocking contraction in the body. If we put that together, left front, so being able to have the feeling we can open left front, good, and now pick up outside rein long, not pulling on the rein, lifting up here and having, yes, this connection in the diagonal pairs. So being able to open the front, connect the hind, letting the horse feel all of these connections in the body. This is the basic pattern. If we start to be able to add something, if we start to add an element in the environment, let's say one of these three things, movement, touch, sound, or approach. If something is approaching here, we want, yes, this feeling. If I was to approach here to the front leg, there was going to be a contraction. I would ask Melissa to open left front and start to give the sensation of the physiology, stepping a little bit towards the bag. This is the opposite from contraction. You are opening in the body. If there's something coming from the side, lift up. We are reducing the tension running, the rider holding two reins. We're releasing tension through the outside, letting her find herself in the control pattern. We can stand still in the middle, Melissa. Yeah, standing still. And then long reins. This is also difficult for the riders in the beginning. Buckle. No, this one. Reins up the neck. So everything she's of course learned on the ground, we want her to feel that she can use the same tools the explanation through teaching to her before doing to her. She's already done this on the ground. So when we start to let her feel the influence of something moving around her with a saddle, bridle, rider, she has the knowledge to know what to do. Again, go to an international competition anywhere and stand in the warming up and do this and see how many friends you get. This is also the situation that happens when a horse gets pressure stacking, you know, whatever terminology you want to use, that creates a situation where the horse gets over the threshold and starts to react and run away. If you have taught the horse an understanding of the management of themselves, the importance of why I tell Melissa to have the long rein here and the buckle up the neck is that if Nora starts to think about relaxing herself here more, then we don't want that the rein is stopping her in that situation. She's also still young, and standing still means she has to keep herself busy. It's also teaching the rider to be able to let go, not to feel that they have to control. This is difficult for a lot of dressage riders. Not so much for jumping and eventing riders. They practice it more. If she started to move in this situation, what we don't want is that Melissa's picking up two reins, but she's redirecting and letting the horse feel that they're able to follow. So the first part of the connection between the groundwork and the riding is the pattern, the good order of movement, the good conversation, dialogue in the body. Second thing is that they are understanding that it's the same thing with all the things they're going to experience in the environment with saddle and rider. So this is not changing. She's also bored. And so then we start to be able to add that with movement. So let's say you go, let's do a little bit the pattern here first, Miss, between the umbrellas. Let's put it in a difficult situation to start with. So let's say you want to teach the horse to go past something. Of course, we've already done this in the groundwork. So if you're coming along the long side, Melissa, and let's just say you get to a spot in the arena, a pot plant, a thing that the horse doesn't want to go through. The idea is not to do it perfect first time. So let's say she gets to the situation here and she stops. The horse is getting to a moment where she says, I'm not sure if I want to go through there. And let's say she's leaning backwards at that moment. She doesn't want to go through this space. What we don't want to do is put the leg on in that moment. We want to teach the horse to be able to open the body and give loose reins, so that we open the body. This is the opposite of tension, contraction, reflex. She comes to this situation again. You haven't pushed her through. You've opened the body. So this is the opposite. Your horse gets here into a situation where there's contraction. If you push the horse, they go through that with contraction. Maybe you're successful in getting the horse through that situation. The experience of, do they feel like they're being controlled or do they feel like they're in control? This is not a pressing of the body, this is an opening of the body. When you open the body and the body says yes, she has the tools and the ability to go through that space. Usable, doable techniques. So this is going around something, past something. Let's talk about going between something. This is the same thing. Just start to make a little bit the clock shape. So this is clock shape we saw with footloose. I'll make it a bit wider because you can't actually be in a clock shape with that narrow. So being able to go between an object, keeping connection here. Diagonal pairs. this shape. Oh, now right front. So this pattern is going to lead them to making connection with the object. Clock shape there, and long reins again. So the same patterns we did in the groundwork, this connection pattern is going to get the body to say, yes, I want to make connection to something. Not, oh, I'm not sure, and then try to push them there. Let's think about going over something. We're going to do the simulation first, Melissa. So your horse gets to this position. Stop. Whoop. She thinks, shit, I don't want to go over that. What's going to be the response? The normal response is, come on, come on, come on. The body's already in contraction. Reflex. Tension. The handbrake is on. The front legs are in the ground. How do you take the handbrake off? Open the front. Front leg opens. Whoa. Long reins. She leans down. The body commits to yes. What should we do in that moment? Don't say, now you kick them to go over. You take, oh, stop. She leans, she commits. Where do you go? You take her away. So situations for jumpers. Yeah, how did you get the horse that was afraid to go over the water? How did you get him to go to the water? I didn't get him to go to the water. I took him away. Why is that important? Because we're rewarding the preparation of the body to do something. If the horse is reactive in tension, he's preparing his body for a no. If you open the body and the posture says, yes, I'm starting to commit, you have to make that obvious. You have to create an awareness to this posture that says yes by taking them away. At the moment you take them away and you make the energy relaxed, they're saying, but my body said I could probably do that. It's a sense and a feeling of comfort and knowing what to do in that situation. When you take them back, they want to try it. They want to prove that, yes, I'm going to go towards that feeling because I feel I have a sense of knowing what to do in my body. I'm no longer in a tension, contraction, reflex, no, protection, predict and protect. I'm now in an opening of feeling I know what to do. You can take her away. And so through the process, we're of course doing this in the groundwork. You can start a little bit in trot if you like. And then you're able to start to ride over something, between something, around something. And you're really having the feeling that you can simulate these things. Feel in the horse's body what it is you need to be able to do to get them to really feel that they can overcome these things. It's good, Melissa? Yeah. So you need to get going a bit? Then you can start to ride a little bit towards me. So center line. So then teaching a horse a little bit about the approach of something. You're going to see this from a front view. So being able to present something here. Oh. When she makes contact, taking it away. So having a horse that maybe gets into a situation, sees something in the forest in the distance. The head starts to get up, the legs start to narrow. You can go left, a little bit the other way, center line. The body starts to contract, starts to put the handbrake on. We're teaching them if they see something that the body opens up and goes towards it. This is in the beginning with the jumping horses, what helps them to be confident about the approach of something. Yes, drawing the energy back, letting them reach and touch and taking them away. You see she's already starting to push through me. This is also helpful for the horses that come in the ring and happens to rain and the umbrella goes up and you get the horse starting to just change rein again. Just come one more time from the other end. Good girl. But you get into a situation, your horse comes in the ring, they see the cameraman the first time, you go into arc and they see the possibility of a fence that's a little bit insecure. You're teaching them in the body what it is to approach those things and feel confident in that approach. Just one more time and I go further down, Melissa. So again, teaching them to know what to do in their body, that they're able to give this sense of going to something. Yes, when I know what it is I have to do, I'm no longer feeling that I have to avoid that situation. Good, just rub her on the neck. The process, the important part for the rider in that situation is that when you start, of course, she is at a level where I can do this much. When you start a little bit and the horse starts to think, oh, I'm not too sure about that, what you don't want to do again is push. If a horse is having contraction, reflex in the body, and we push, oh, they're going to push back more. The only thing you have to do in that situation for the rider is to open up this front leg. Oh, the horse says, yes, I can go there. When the body says, yes, I can go there, the person on the ground has to say, good. When you say that, the pressure gets less. We show them that that's the right thing they have to do. We go a little bit on the circle, Melissa. So, again, guys, trying to show usable things. Now, the situations where horses go into the first competition, they're going into there with not enough information and tools. They see something the first time they've never seen before. They have to approach. They don't know what approach is. It is the story when someone says, it was perfect, it was going so well, she was so easy to break in, and then just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, at the show she started stopping, she got afraid, and now we have a situation. Nowhere is not nowhere. Nowhere is just a place you didn't recognize yet. A situation comes from not having the knowledge to know what to do. So the preparation of these things, or the repair of these things, is just in the knowledge of teaching them what to do with themselves. We're going to go into simulation of, we're going to do it in walk first because it's more fair on the rider. So we've talked about the opening of the front leg. This is going to be the redirection of the hind leg. When we work them on the circle in the halter, we're not lunging, we're riding from the ground. When I make this, I want the horses to be able to turn and stop in this position. Normally in lunging, when I wanted to go on the circle to the left, I would go here and chase the horse. When we chase the horse in a lunging position, we create tension movement. They feel us go behind them, they contract in the skin and the muscles, and then they go. When we teach the horses to go forward on the circle, I want to be able to open the front, that they take themselves on the circle. So when she goes on the left rein in the circle, I'm walking left. I'm not going to the right to the hind leg. When I go on the circle in the groundwork, I'm lifting my energy up, sensation forward, sorry. Lifting energy up, sensation forward, voice, and then I can touch here with the inside leg. So making this connection. When I start to give energy here, I want to feel this redirection in that moment. So normally, if we were going along, a little bit in trot, so we start to go in trot, and then we give pressure. The horse would put the head up, the rider would take the two reins, and we would be in attention controlling the horse pattern. And what we want to be able to do is reverse that by teaching the horse, when you feel pressure comes towards you, we want you to redirect. This is the same technique we use if you're on the circle, a little bit in trot. And then having the feeling that a horse in the warm-up is running into you, we want to redirect and her to follow here. Follow here, follow here. And then going on again. And then there's pressure, a redirection, She's no longer being chased, but she is the chaser. This is the same technique for the horses that are horse shy. When they're having this contraction, tension, thinking I want to get away, the whole body locks together, the rider restrains, tries to hold, the same as this in the leading position. We want to let go in that moment, redirect. We know what to do in the body because of the simulation. If Melissa was at a competition and someone fell off and the horse was free, Melissa would probably be one of the only riders that didn't go into emergency mode. I don't know how my horse is going to react to this. I don't know what's going to happen in this situation, so I have to protect myself to make sure nothing bad happens. You've seen the videos. One horse gets free, or one horse is cantering, galloping, the blanket falls off, the rest of the whole warm-up or the rest of the arena or the riding school, the horses take off. The riders are all restraining. In that moment, she knows, I know what to do. I just redirect. And I get my horse to start to feel like she's in control of this situation, and she is the chaser. She's not being chased. So that's the simulation. One more time. So being able to have the feeling of the redirection means that you don't take the rein, actually give loose reins, do nothing. And what happens is, after a while, because the horse knows what it is they have to do, the redirection is now becoming the automatic pattern. So in the beginning we can guide them, but in the end, if there's a whole lot of pressure that comes, the horse is looking in the tool bag, oh, I know what to do here. I know how to control myself in order to control the situation. So it's giving information. It's giving the horse the knowledge to know what to do. We're going to go one more with going under something. So of course this is the natural tendency when something is above the horse, for the horse's energy to go up, to look up. When the horse is looking up, there's something above them. That can be the umbrella. That can be the grandstand. That can be something in the trees. That can be something far in the distance. It seems like it's above them. The natural tendency is then for the horse's head to go up and then the brakes to go on. So the simulation of that is, again, empowering the body to know what to do, to open the body for it to commit, to say yes, to go through a sequence in order to install a system that gives you the knowledge and the ability, the empowerment to go, I can ride with my horse wherever it is I want to go. This bit I love. Normally this is the test of how flexible I am. My horses don't run through the stables on the other side. So you can see, because of the last step, the first thing she does is approach. I take the flag away, I make myself smaller. Melissa rides past. I'm going to move further down so you can turn a little bit better. Let's not fall off the wall in this live session. So being able to make movement above the head. What Melissa's doing here is, again, what do we do, people? We don't put the leg on in any part of this situation. We are opening the front legs towards the wall. Good. And then we're riding on. And then we're going to connect with the hind legs by turning left, lifting up the left rein, connecting left hind. And then I'm going to give pressure this side. When she makes a connection, I take it away. Turning right hind. So working on this conversation. Then we're able to go past and left hind. When she faces, I tell her that pressure gets less. If she stops here, Melissa's going to now open the right front leg towards the wall, yes, and then give loose reins. So this is the unlocking of that situation. More pressure. She's able to manage herself. Don't you push me off the wall. Very good. And then of course, once the foundation is there, you are just then adding speed to that. And then your horse is able to go under something, over something, around something. And you've again empowered them by simulating a possible situation. Florida, for example. You have now the Global, Wellington, Main Arena. You have a tent all down one side. On the short side, the horses are going away from the warming up, the entrance. They have to approach a VIP tent, high up, with banners and colours and all sorts of things below. Most horses on their entry already start to go into this posture. What happens then? Why does that happen to begin with? No preparation. They've not taught the horse this. What happens in that situation? The horse starts to feel a level of tension, protection. Predict and protect. I'm in a space where I don't know what to do with myself. What does the rider have to do? He's getting a bit high in the neck. I want to try to put him down to control the situation. Becomes restraint. You get a conflict between natural instinct of survival and control, restraint of the rider. This is, of course, going to increase the level of pressure in the horse's body. We can call this pressure stacking. We can, there's lots of examples. A lot of great horse trainers give examples of what happens in the horse and give a nice story of why this situation happens. And so then when you start to ride, the bell goes, you're limited on time. Time creates pressure because you start to do things quickly. You have less time to think. Circulation in the body starts to go faster. The level of contraction in the body starts to get greater. You will either get a freeze from that contraction that the handbrake is on, or the horse gets in panic and he wants to break free of that freeze, and you get an explosion, either backwards or forwards or whatever it is. And so the preparation, and then of course through that situation you get a horse having a meltdown and a rider of course feeling very unhappy because there's no success in that failure. They are of course feeling for their horse in that situation. They're of course having now a nightmare that could reoccur all the time. They have an undesired behavior. And now they're in a downward spiral of how to get out of that. We just need to go to more competition so he gets used to it. So keep taking him back to the room of trauma with the same level of skills, the same tools, and the same nightmare. You're going to get the same reaction, the same outcome. Maybe worse, because every time you go in there, there's a higher level of expectation, the preempting, the fear, all of that sort of stuff. So it's really about then going back and just teaching to them before doing to them. Putting them in a situation where you can give them the skills, build up that. What is it? What is it that is creating the horse to be insecure? And what are the steps? These are my ideas. This is through my experience, through the journey of my self-education, self-knowledge about how to teach horses to be comfortable in this situation. These are usable, doable things in which you can spend a very little time and you avoid that disaster video. You avoid that situation where you get afraid. You avoid that situation where your horse becomes insecure. You avoid the things we don't want for horses and for our horse culture, for horse people. So this is my contribution. Thank you, Melissa and Nora. And we're going to now head, guys, to the last Q&A.
I'm
Look at that.
second Q&A.
So guys,
Ready?
let's fire away.
Let's go. The first one is from Frida Canis, and they're wondering that when the spooky thing is outside your arena that you're working in, and your horse is spooking, do you still do the clock shape pattern, even if the scary thing is not in the middle or the center of the clock shape pattern? Or is it better to just stand still and do other exercises?
So always my feeling with the horse reacting to something in the space, outside of the space, is the redirection towards where that pressure is coming from. So also feeling and learning through the preparation and teaching of the steps, what is the pattern your horse's body goes into? That's a particular pattern, and it's different for every horse. There will be similarities, but each individual horse will have a pattern of protection that's learned, that's become his savior, it's become his protection. It's the reason he feels he's still alive, because he's got that survival package that's enabled him to let himself feel safe through what Mother Nature's given him. And so learning that, you know which part of the body is starting to be tight. You know, if your horse is starting to exit with a forward step, then it's a redirection of that, of a hind leg. If your horse starts to get the head up and he stops and he's blocking and he's closing the front and you can't go anywhere, it is the opening of a front leg that's going to reduce that. So it doesn't matter if the thing is in the middle of the arena, outside of the arena, far away, wherever the influence is from the environmental pressure, it's about teaching them what to do with themselves. Through the groundwork, you're teaching them about looking in and not being affected by the external. We're teaching them the self-management. If you're able to have an awareness of yourself, self-mastery. How is my body being affected? Am I going to allow that to happen? How can I change my physiology? What is the physical action I can take through intelligence, through my toolkit, in order for me to feel different in that situation? So it's not a reaction to a stimuli to avoid a possible scary situation. It's really about the opening of the body in order to give them the tools to know what to do in that situation.
The next one is from Lisa Hittinger, and they're wondering what you can do if you don't have someone to help you with this, because they're usually alone.
So the simulation, of course, can be created by still objects. I talked about approach in the beginning. It doesn't matter if they are still, the thing is approaching them, or the thing is still and they're approaching it. You can set these objects up in the situation. You can get inventive with a witch's hat and a flag. Environment will help you, wind. So it's about teaching yourself that pattern in order to redirect them, to be able to give them the knowledge of what to do in their physiology in the presence of those things. Of course, it helps to have somebody on the ground because it's more interactive. But, you know, setting these things up, like the tools we have, the umbrellas, people use bean bags, you know, people in the online training on the TT method, they are very inventive. In our monthly challenge, I see all kinds of obstacle courses that people have invented and set up. And so, you know, you're just setting up these situations in following the patterns and creating the systems to be able to navigate yourself in and around all these objects.
Final question. It's from Catherine Burka, and they're wondering if the tension during a dressage test starts acting up. Is it worth it to sacrifice the test to help your horse feel relaxed during the test, or just finish it and try to get points?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. It, of course, depends on what you value the most. That is actually the question. Do you value the points and the results on that day, or do you value how your horse feels in that situation, and are you going to do something that maybe sacrifices the points or the possible chance of being successful on that day in order to make the future events have a better outcome? For me, always sacrificing the results or an accolade or a, you know, a sort of superficial thing in that moment is always worth sacrificing. Horse feel good. My goal when I ride competition is first to give my horse a sense of feeling empowered and having that self-mastery and knowing what to do with himself. The willingness, the want to perform is my number one goal. And so always for me, if I'm, you know, I go along the diagonal, you're in situations where you have to make a decision. You go on the diagonal. I've had it myself in the past. I had one situation where I was at a competition and I went through the gate and I halted, saluted, I went for my first diagonal, and the gatekeepers went to close the fence as I went into the diagonal, and my horse looked a little bit. And I reassured him I didn't go for the full keeping him there and putting more and more pressure on, expectation, running into the situation, the possible situation of the body going into contraction, protection. And it was a few years later I went to the same arena and I halted, saluted, I had to go on the same diagonal, and he was already looking for the possible situation of the threat. You know, he was looking for he was predicting someone was going to be doing something strange there. And at that moment then I could have made a choice to say, oh, come on, ride on, keep him with you, keep him on the aids, and then I would have run the risk on that particular horse, because he's sensitive, that for the rest of the test, every time I went in that direction, he was waiting for the pressure to go there when he was questioning whether he should. So in that moment, I relaxed. For that diagonal, I didn't get any points, of course. But as I went through the test, he gained more confidence. And he started to want to go to that end, because I relaxed and I opened the body and he stretched the neck and I rubbed him a bit and I picked him up, and his body, his physiology, and I said it's okay. And then he felt empowered by that situation, like he controlled the moment, and then every moment after that he got more and more confident. So the answer to that is, for me, yes, it's always worth it.
Good. Well, we promised to give 3 lifetime access away at the beginning, but we're never intending to do that. It's a party, so everybody that asks a question, and I asked Tristan in your stead, please email us, info@trtmethod.com, and we'll make sure that you'll either get the membership or you can gift it to a friend. But if you didn't get a question answered, then we have a really special offer coming for you with a very special percentage.
What would that special percentage be? It wouldn't be 44, would it?
Wouldn't be. And it's access to all the courses. So it's not just the groundwork that you've seen today, starting from working from the ground up, the first leading exercise, the awareness exercise, or translating it into riding and doing all the exercises with the tools, with a friend, without a friend. But it also includes everything that you might need possibly when working with your horse. Think about full handling, think about trailer loading, think about, what else do we have? We have so much.
Full handling, young horse course, starting a young horse under the saddle.
Anything you can think of.
It's not there in your online, name it, and we'll make it.
So
that's full access lifetime.
Lifetime. Didn't even mention that. Yeah.
So 44% discount, lifetime. It's normally
44?
44. Not till tomorrow. Or it is now, if you're in Australia.
It's right now, yeah.
So lifetime access, and at a huge reduced price, of course. So you guys, if you found anything interesting from tonight, you were inspired, I hope that you find some usable, doable things, so that I start to see more people having success and less negativity and internet bashing of what we're doing wrong, but being empowered by some of the things we can do right to improve the future for our horses. Congratulations to the guys that actually got full access, that won, all of you that put good questions in, good enough for Tessa to pick them out.
I'll take them, yeah.
Thank you, Tessa.
No worries, thank you.
Mostly, right? I can do it.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We hope to see you again at the next TRT Live.
Bye bye.